let's keep it moving. We appreciate y'all being here. One of the other things that's happening, you got the owners in here, and we're excited about them. It's a new thing going, but we do have serious questions. It's still a business, and we still are going to have people from the old regime. So, Will, hey, whose job is on the line? And I'm mainly talking, management. I'm talking coaching staff, general manager, higher ups. What is your thoughts? Like, who do you think? And we can start. Where do you want? We can start with the head coach if you want to.
I'll say everyone's job is on the line right now. When you get a new ownership in here, everyone's job goes on the line. But yeah, let's start with the coach.
Oh yeah. Let's go into it. Christina Hughes, Cat's sister, saying magic, baby. Oh. They are so excited about that Michigan State. Here we go. Ron Rivera, is his job on the line in your opinion?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that I think for two reasons. The first one is I don't know if his coaching style meshes with Josh Harris. Josh brought in with the 76ers a general manager, Daryl Morey, that was early on into analytics. And that's when trust the process came through. And that became their motto and the way they built their franchise. Ron is an old school coach. We know that. So is Jack Del Rio. So I don't know if what Josh Harris wants to see out of a football franchise is going to mesh the way Ron runs it. Now, football and NBA could be a little bit different. It's not completely apples to apples, but I just really wonder if they're going to be the right fit. But more importantly, it's about winning. I mean, Ron's gone here and he's had to take on a whole lot of stuff. And you can see he's a lot happier this year at training camp because he's focusing on ball right now, which is great. I love this for him. He deserves this year to just be a head coach and work in the defensive room, work in the offensive room, and stop having to answer all these PR questions that he gets from them because of all the junk that Snyder was getting himself involved in. But he's consistently only won 7 and 8 games as head coach. He won the NFC East, and had a losing record. So that's not anything that, after 3 years, he can be sitting there saying like, yep, see, hey, new owner, look what I've been doing. So I think, there is a lot on the line here. And plus, he's putting his reputation on the line with a 5th-round pick in Sam Howell. Like, that's a bold move to basically say, hey, I'm going with this young quarterback. This is what I got. Because there's one thing Ron has failed as head coach is finding a quarterback. Saying that we're going to keep Dwayne Haskins and give him a chance. Going, for Ryan Fitzpatrick. And he got hurt, but nobody was really excited about Fitzpatrick coming in here. Last year making the trade, you were the only one that was thrilled about it.
I was ready for the magic.
You drank all the Kool-Aid. You're so right. And then the trade for Carson Wentz. And Carson hasn't been signed by anybody. It's true. We got trade robbed during that, from them. So Ron has not been able to figure out the quarterback situation. Now he's going with an unproven 5th-round pick. It's kind of curious. So I think Ron's job absolutely is on the line. I think he's got a lot of proof.
Mm-hmm. Now, I will agree with you on some of that. I do think his job is on the line. I do think you need to look at him because, yes, we have struggled these last couple of years. But then I'm going to play devil's advocate because let's look at the quarterbacks we've had in his tenure. The Kyle Allens, the one-legged Alex Smith, the late Dwayne Haskins. You know what I mean? And then some of the guys that we've had recently, it's been a struggle. It has. We haven't started great, but we're never out of a season. In those last 3 years that we've only won 7, 8 games, there's still points in each of the last 3 seasons, going back to the one that we won the division, where you're looking at it like, these guys are playing because it didn't look great in September and October, but now in November, these guys are kind of getting it together. So I think, in my opinion, keep him. In my opinion, we've seen when some of those videos at the end of the year, especially with Reeves, when he got into the Pro Bowl, he said, we'll run through a wall for you. We'll do anything for you. He is very invested in those players, and he cares deeply about them, and I think they feel the same way. And one thing we know about Ron is that, yes, he'll have years where, like he did with us, he took a team with a losing record to the playoffs. He did that with the Carolina Panthers. He also had a year where they went 15-1 and got to the Super Bowl. So I'm saying if there's something that he does, that old school mentality, that I love, that bridge back to the good old days, you know what I mean? That is something I think we need to keep. And I think having him here, I think that's going to be that, at least that start to shift to bringing it back to where it needs to be.
Right. No, I think Ron's coaching ability absolutely has to be commended for the fact that, think about all the times under Mike Shanahan, under Jim Zorn, where the bottom would fall out and we'd end up with 3 wins, with 4 wins, and he gets the team to keep playing and competing. And, COVID didn't help when the team basically all went down, but he kept them competitive. And we always say, give me a December to remember. And he's done that in all 3 years as head coach. So I'll give him that. And I want to say, I'm not rooting for him to be fired. I like Ron a lot. I just think there's a lot at stake for him this year. And I think he's got to get, the only way he can secure it, double-digit wins and maybe win in the playoffs. It's about the only way he can secure it. If he makes the playoffs, maybe, because this is a pretty good roster. So if you're not in playoff contention, it's either because the quarterback didn't work out or, maybe some other factors. But it's like, this is a ready-made roster for someone else to come in and take it and run. So that's kind of attractive to bring someone else in.
Some people might say, I don't know who these people are, but some people might say we have one of the best quarterbacks that we've had over the last couple years.
Nobody's saying that.
They're saying it. I'm saying it. I'm saying it right now, baby. Let's go. Yo, look, let's move on up the list. We went to Rivera. Let's go now to Martin Mayhew, another former Washington player. He was on the team that won the Super Bowl back in 91 and 92 season. Do you think he should stay?
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be hard to keep him, again, because the whole thing of whoa, someone from Australia. Awesome.
Nice.
Welcome.
Wolfgang. What's going on, man?
I really wonder, Martin Mayhew and the way they're building this team really does seem to be a lot more old school. He said it in his press conferences. We're going to run the ball. We're going to run the ball. And then we're going to run the ball again. And then we'll consider passing it. And that's just not the new NFL.
Yeah.
And to me, that type of mentality is like, ooh, Josh Harris is going to hear that and be like, no, that's not what I want for my football executives. And he's got this mixed, bag of how he's done. He's been really bad in free agency. Martin Mayhew has. Martin and Ron. Let's look back to signing William Jackson and thinking he could work in our scheme and how detrimental that was. And you gave him a boatload of money. How about last year? You got an immobile quarterback and you bring in Andrew Norwell and Trey Turner to be your 2 guards, and they're both not on the team this year.
Yeah, Trey's out for the year, isn't he?
He got hurt. He did. So really poor free agent decisions.
Yeah.
But they've, the drafts have actually been kind of okay. They made some decent picks a little bit later on. Benjamin St. Juste in the 3rd round is a great find. Getting Derek Forrest in the 4th or 5th round, great find. So they've been able to find some guys that can be solid. Sometimes it's not difficult. We got to give him credit for Jahan Dotson.
Yes.
Because you and I, when they drafted him, were like, oh, man, it's not the wide receiver I was looking for, and he looks to be a stud. So they've had some decent drafts. I don't want to say they've had some good drafts, or they haven't had great drafts, but they've improved the roster tremendously from it. But then my last little thing is the depth chart stuff is really strange.
All right, Josh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, thanks for chiming in.
Appreciate you chiming in, man. Every Wednesday, man.
But there's been some weird depth charts. The linebacker at corner. The fact that we went and signed Richard Wildgoose after we cut guys last year, and then he had to play in 3 weeks. So there's been some things there as Martin Mayhew, you're the architect of our roster. There's just been some bad decisions by him. So I really think I don't think he'll be around next year.
Yeah. And honestly, I think I got to agree with you. I love how we have done the drafts because you talked about it. Us getting Jahan Dotson, us getting some of those guys a little bit later. Look, Brian Robinson. I mean, for one thing, we know this man is built differently. Had the unfortunate, accident earlier in the year and then is able to come back and essentially carry the load, turn that offense around when we were struggling. And then going to Fadarius Mathis, going to some of these other guys deep in the draft. And I'll even say Sam. Getting Sam, taking a chance on a 5th round QB that a lot of people outside of Washington are saying, oh, this guy isn't that great. He isn't. But these guys have all seen something. And now they are definitely on board from what we've been hearing. So for that, something he's doing right there, I do like. But to your point, there are other positions where it's like everybody sees that there's a hole here, and you seem to be avoiding that spot. And now, obviously, with the most recent stuff that we don't know what's going to happen, with Jamin Davis, but we don't have anybody to come in if he isn't on, especially with Cole Holcomb now at Pittsburgh.
Right.
So that I do think you're absolutely right that they're not. The free agency has been a struggle, and he's kind of missed on some of the picks, and he's going to be one that's definitely on the chopping block. My only devil's advocate is that he did play for us, and he was from that last part of that team. So I do want to maybe keep with that bridge to get it over. But I definitely agree with that. He said Jahan is a gem. I told everyone when we picked him up, don't let his size fool you because he makes up for it, and we saw that when it turned out to be a great pick. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Ray's all over. You must have watched more Penn State than I did. Because I did have a Penn State fan say, no, this guy's great. You're going to love him. Yeah. Well, I do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it, that's that wide receiver group. Woo. Okay. Yeah. But we'll definitely get into that. Mark is saying Kaliki Hudson has been decent. I'll give you that. And look, anything that we get from him, I think exceeds expectations because we didn't expect him to be outside of more than just a special teams guy. Shout out to him out of, I believe, Michigan. But
Michigan.
Oh, yeah. We saw him.
The thing we got to remember with that first draft with Ron was Martin Mayhew wasn't here. So, like the Cam Curl, I didn't give him credit for because that was Kyle Smith running the draft with Ron Rivera. So there are some of those guys, like he said, Kaliki Hudson's been making some good moves here at training camp, but that wasn't a Mayhew selection. But he certainly was a great find.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for the last guy, and I think we both kind of agree, Jason Wright. For me, I'm just going to keep it simple. Goodbye. There's something about him, especially, and I go back to when they did the name change, when 2/2/22, we unveiled the Commanders, and just the look of my guy, Doug Williams, who was up there with him, and just how he kind of was back here like, this is your team. There's something about Jason that just doesn't do it for me. Maybe it's the fact that I kind of feel like he was more of a diversity hire or something to try to take a little bit of tension off of Dan Snyder and everything like that. But every time I hear him talk at a press conference, maybe this is me. People in the comments, let me know if y'all agree. Will, let me know if you agree. I just can't get on board. I don't believe him. It just seems kind of fake to me. Like he just seems like, oh, I'm doing the job, but I'm not. He's not invested. I don't know. For me personally, I think his job's on the line. I think he needs to be the first one to hit the road, Jack. What you think, Will?
Well, I think for one thing, I don't disagree with what you said. All three of them are going to be given the opportunity to prove themselves this next year. The Harris Group is not going to come in and fire anybody. That's what Dan Snyder did. He's told Charlie Casserly, you're out of here. They're going to let them fix what happened because there's been some things during Jason's time as team president that have not been good at all. And I don't know. We don't know how much of it was Snyder related, and I think Snyder was a part of some of the mistakes they had. But at the same time, this is your organization. This is your staffers. This is your staff people that take a picture of Sean Taylor's family in front of the Porta-Johns. I know, Jason, you didn't do that, but people that you hired
to your watch.
And why did you let someone who's taken that picture not have the photographic wherewithal to say, okay, hold on, let's rotate. We got to rotate here. I know we got the sign here, but this is not good. Or if someone didn't come in, do an inspection of the grounds and go, why are the Porta-Johns right underneath the Sean Taylor waste, road sign? This doesn't make sense. So there's been some bads. 2/2/22 was awful. It lacked all kinds of organization, and the rollout was terrible. The fact that when they announced the next 10 greatest Redskins, we misspelled a player. There's been no organizational understanding. They fired a lot of people to change the culture, which is important. But then there was like you and I talked about like, hey, do you need me to volunteer as a consultant for you guys?
Right,
like,
right.
We have some time that we can be like, okay, give me the names. Who do you need to be considering? You know, like you don't have Trent Williams on here. Why do you not have Trent Williams on the top 10? You know, the next 10. He needs to be on it. And then you misspelled a linebacker. You misspelled the dude's name. Like, come on. And then the fact, you know, the second Sean Taylor incident. The installation, the satellite that they have for it, and the communication of it. Because if you heard from the media that they were calling it a statue, you knew what the reaction was going to be. Mm-hmm. You know, I truly believe he deserves you know, another year, because I'm sure that the first time they retired Sean Taylor's jersey, that was a Dan Snyder move. He had a report come out earlier that week. And then all of a sudden on a Sunday, we decided that we were going to retire Sean Taylor's number. That's a Dan Snyder, like, let's change the PR, let's do something. So you can't credit him for that. But I will want to say this about Jason, that he deserves a lot of credit for it. The culture has changed at that organization. He's brought in a lot of folks, you know, some non-football folks. You know, he's brought in a lot of diversity there, you know, adding a lot of females to the staff in the executive roles. That's important. He deserves a lot of that credit. I also wonder, is there another role within the organization that he could be good for? Yeah. I don't know if team president is what he's best suited for, but is there something else he could be doing? Is there a department he could be running? Because he is obviously a very quality person. He's a good figurehead to have out there. And one of the things I like about him, I hate that they make mistakes, but he acknowledges them and he apologizes for them.
Yeah.
The previous regime would never say we made a mistake. And he's like, yep, we did that wrong. We got to fix it. But bottom line, in my opinion, to where you're saying, well, like, he's probably got to go, you can't mess up the Super Bowl numbers the way he did. 1992, get out of here.
Can't do that. Cannot do that. And I mean, look, people in this chat and people that are watching, they won't have to go much farther than the whole Sean Taylor thing. Because not only was it that the picture in front of the Porta-John and the whole poor excuse for a statue, but let's not forget when they tried to do it, they tried to retire it against the Chiefs. Remember when they had it just marked off in that little spot, and then we see the infamous video of you know, Mahomes' little brother doing the TikTok dance on it, like that. What you hit the nail on the head where it's like, dude, read the room. Like that should never be allowed to happen at all. That's just tremendously disrespectful. So. That's what it is. Marcus said, give Rivera his job and make EB the head coach.
Yeah. That could be coming.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting. I do like that the owner said that they're not coming in here and, you know, off with the head. They're not taking these guys out immediately. But I do think these are questions, especially with them now here, that we need to have addressed. We definitely need to